Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The cage and the fear. The lights above flickered once, then again, then they went completely still, that eerie kind of still that feels like the calm before a predator pounces. Lyra held her breath. Not that it made a difference. The transparent walls of the container wrapped tightly around her, giving her just enough space to crouch. She couldn't stretch her legs, couldn't lie down, couldn't hide. The human was coming back. She could hear the sound, soft thuds, almost rhythmically spaced. Boots, she assumed. She had seen the soles when the being had first loomed over her. Giant, impossibly loud things, covered in Earth's dirt and some kind of dried red clay. They didn't match the hum of the ship's walls, which vibrated low, consistent, familiar now, after 3 cycles of being trapped inside. But those boots, they carried the weight of something she didn't understand, something terrifying. Her hands, small and bioluminescent, trembled in front of her chest. She pressed her forehead against the cool surface of the cage. The material was strange, not glass, not steel, something in between, organic maybe. It felt alive at times. She squinted out through it. The lab was still dim, clean, but cluttered. Boxers, tools, and tech scattered in odd corners. Everything in this space gave off that mix of human ingenuity and chaos. There were panels with glowing buttons, small handheld devices with blinking lights, and something that looked like a fish tank filled with thick blue mist, but no life. No one yet. And then she saw it. A soft glow sliding along the far wall, a reflection. Shadows flickered. The human was approaching. Lyra backed away from the front of the container, pressing her spine against the rear wall. There was nowhere to run, but it felt better than looking him in the eyes. The first time she had seen the creature, tall, broad, with skin like pale bark and eyes that gleamed like the moons of her homeworld, she had thought it was death incarnate. Her people had always feared them. Eaters, they called them. Warm-blooded gods who chew through planets and smile while doing it. And now she was in its grasp. The door slid open. Soft steam rolled across the floor, lazy and warm, as if announcing royalty. And there he was, Dr. Caleb Finch. Though Lyra did not know his name yet, he strolled into the room like he belonged there. Loose black shirt, rolled up sleeves, grease on his fingers, a ceramic mug in his right hand, steaming lightly. He sipped from it and sighed in satisfaction. She watched from the shadows of her container, heart fluttering. Her people did not have vocal cords like humans, but if they did, she imagined hers would be screaming. Finch walked straight past her to a small counter where he set the mug down, stretched, and cracked his neck. Then he turned around and finally noticed the cage, or pretended to. "Oh, you're up," he said, voice calm, casual, like he was speaking to a houseplant. Lyra blinked twice. Her antennae twitched in confusion. "He's not afraid of me, or angry." He walked closer, slowly, non-threatening, hands at his sides. He crouched just outside the container, eyes scanning her. She recoiled. He tilted his head. "You okay in there?" His voice was strange, deep and round, but not angry, not hungry, not yet. Then he did something unexpected. He reached for a panel on the side of the cage and tapped it. Suddenly, a shimmer passed through the surface, and a small speaker activated. "Can you understand this language?" A synthesized voice echoed, translating his words into harmonic pulses she recognized. Lyra froze. Her pupils narrowed. A translator? She had heard of them. Ancient tech, once used by elder races during the time of the Galactic Accord. She nodded. Slowly. Finch smiled. "Good. That makes things easier." He stood up, took a slow sip from his mug, then casually pulled a nearby chair and sat down in front of her. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said. "I swear." The translator echoed again. This time, the pitch felt softer. Lyra didn't move. "I found you on the edge of the Kuiper Belt," he continued, floating in some sort of pod. "No beacon, no signal. You were almost dead. Your vitals were fading." Lies. It had to be lies. She had been running, escaping. Finch leaned in a bit. "I think you're the first of your kind we've ever seen alive." Lyra's eyes widened. She stepped forward, placing a hand on the barrier between them. Her expression changed, subtly, a shift from fear to suspicion. Finch saw it. He nodded, double quotes. "Yeah. I'm guessing you don't trust me." "I don't blame you. Hell, I wouldn't trust me either." His eyes softened. He seemed tired. Not like a hunter, more like a man who had lost something long ago. "I just want to talk." That's all. No needles, no dissection tables, just talk. She tilted her head. The translator buzzed softly. She slowly raised a single finger, glowing faintly, and tapped it once on the inner wall of the cage. A soft chime responded. She's listening. Finch smiled. Let's start simple. Do you have a name? She hesitated. Then, in a whisper, she pressed her hand to her chest. Lyra. The word shimmered through the speaker, delicate and pure. Finch sat back, almost stunned. Lyra. That's beautiful. Silence followed. Then a sudden jolt rocked the ship. Alarms chirped. Lights shifted to red. Finch immediately jumped to his feet, knocking over the mug. It shattered on the floor. What the hell? He raced to the control panel and pulled up the main nav screen. Lyra watched in confusion. The ship was changing course. Autopilot overridden. Then her eyes widened in horror. She recognized the pattern, the flickering symbols, the way the screen pulsed. It was not a malfunction. It was a signal, a calling. Finch stared at the data, then turned to her. You know what this is? Lyra pressed her palms to the cage wall, frantically trying to gesture. Danger, the translator tried to interpret. Inside you, not alone. Finch narrowed his eyes. Then, another sound. Sharp, wet, wrong. A whispering scritch echoed from the ceiling vent. Both turned to look, and something moved. The man called Finch. The whispering sound from the ceiling vent vanished as quickly as it had come, like a dream swallowed by waking silence. Dr. Caleb Finch stood frozen, his eyes locked on the vent's narrow slats. A faint streak of moisture, dark and glistening, traced its way down the metal panel below. It looked like condensation, but smelled faintly metallic. Wrong. Behind him, Lyra was trembling again, her glowing hands pressed flat to the transparent wall of her containment pod. She wasn't just scared, she was terrified. Finch turned his head slightly, enough to see her expression. He took a breath, trying to steady the rising tide of anxiety twisting in his gut. Something's on board, he muttered. The translator repeated his words in Lyra's melodic language, and she nodded fast, eyes darting from him to the ceiling. Finch moved back to the control panel and pulled up a shipwide scan. The diagnostic sweep took 5 seconds. It felt like 50. One dot in the cockpit him. One energy signature in lab containment Lyra. A third, undefined, moving through maintenance deck 3, slowly. Finch's jaw tightened. He tapped the console, isolating the signal. No authorized entry detected, the AI voice reported. Life form is non-registered, organic trace inconsistent with Earth biology. Status unknown. He shut the panel, swallowed hard. This shouldn't be happening, he muttered after behind him. Lyra tapped frantically on the inner wall of the container. The system chime responded, and the translator picked up her voice. It followed. From the ruins, it lives. In heat, flesh, shadows. You brought it. Finch turned. You mean the ice mine wreck I recovered your pod from? She nodded quickly. It hides in the blood of others. It wears their skin. It waited. Finch didn't like the implications, not one bit. He moved quickly now, crossed the lab, opened a locked cabinet, and pulled out a long metal rod with a thick base, a plasma torch, industrial grade, not a weapon, but enough to cook through steel at close range. He glanced at Lyra's cage, then at the main hallway door. You stay in there, he said. Whatever this thing is, I'll get it out. Lyra shook her head fiercely. It won't leave. Not until it feeds. Finch paused. Feeds on what? Fear, flesh, thought. Great. Just great. He turned to go, then hesitated. There was a flare of something in Lyra's eyes. Not just panic. Not just warning. Guilt. Is there something you're not telling me? He asked. She said nothing. Finch sighed and stepped into the corridor. Maintenance deck 3 was colder than the rest of the ship. The walls dripped faint condensation. Lights flickered in long, rhythmic bursts like the heartbeat of some slumbering beast. Finch moved slowly, plasma torch raised, eyes darting between shadows. The ship, the Halcyon Spear, was an older deep space survey craft, retrofitted for solo travel. No crew, just him. That had always suited Finch fine. No one to explain. Himself too. No one to get in the way. Just stars and silence. Until now. The low humming of the torch in his hand gave him the smallest comfort, like holding a candle in a dark forest. Knowing full well it wouldn't stop the wolves, but it might help you see them coming. He turned a corner, saw movement, a flicker of reflection off a bulkhead mirror. He froze. Nothing. Just the long stretch of corridor. storage lockers along one side. The vent overhead groaned once, metal expanding or contracting. He stepped closer. Behind one of the lockers, a soft sound, like breathing. Wheezing. He tightened his grip on the torch, held his breath, then a shadow lunged. Finch dropped to one knee, swinging the torch in a wide arc. Blue flame hissed out, bathing the corridor in heat and light, but there was nothing. Just the echo of something scampering into the ceiling vent again. Too fast, too fluid. He stood, heart pounding. Damn it. He ran a thermal sweep using his wristband, a handy little mod he'd installed years back. The creature's trail was still hot. It had moved toward the central spine of the ship, toward the engine bay. He was about to follow when his cum crackled. A voice, weak, alien. Lyra, do not go alone. Finch hesitated, looked up at the vent. He turned back, made for the lab. When he returned, Lyra was pacing the small cage. If you could even pace in such tight confinement. Her light had dimmed. A bad sign. Are you okay? She looked at him, eyes tired. You touched it. Finch blinked. What? The ruin. You entered. It marked you. He took a step back, instinctively. I've scanned myself, he said, trying to stay calm. I'm clean. Lyra's voice came low, almost mournful. It doesn't live in blood alone. It lives in thought, memory. You carry echoes. Finch looked at his hands. They trembled slightly. He hated it, the fear creeping in. The idea that maybe he wasn't in control anymore. Maybe never had been. He looked back at Lyra. You've seen this thing before. It came to our planet once, long ago, fed on the minds of our elders. It wore their faces, their voices. It mimicked until no one could tell who was true. Finch shuddered. What stopped it? Fire, light, unity. But we were too late. Only a few of us escaped. Finch glanced at the lab's backup weapon locker. A few low-grade stun charges, a flare gun, and one old kinetic pistol. No plasma rounds. Not nearly enough. He turned to the cage. You said it marked me, that I carry echoes. What does that mean? Dreams, visions, whispers. If you listen, it will speak. Finch looked away, because he had been hearing things. Faint voices. In the hum of the engines. In the silence of sleep. He hadn't told anyone, not even himself. He leaned against the lab table. You're sure it's just one creature? Lyra hesitated. It begins as one, but it doesn't stay that way. Finch let the silence stretch. Then he made a decision. He tapped the console beside the container. The seal hissed and began to open. Lyra flinched. He held up his hand. I'm letting you out. She stared at him, unmoving. I need help, he said. And I think you do too. The container opened with a soft sigh. The air inside tasted different, cooler, faintly sweet. Finch felt his arm hairs stand on end. Lyra stepped forward cautiously. She was no taller than a child. Her limbs were slender, graceful, like a dancer's. Her skin shimmered faintly in patterns, reacting to light and emotion. Finch guessed. Her eyes were massive, too deep. She stood before him, completely unarmed. I won't hurt you, he said again, but softer this time. She nodded. Then she pointed at the scorch mark on his sleeve, the result of his earlier swing with the plasma torch. That fire, it scares it. Finch handed her a small hand lump. She accepted it with gentle hands. The two of them, unlikely allies, stood facing the door. Then the ship lurched again. Not turbulence, not damage, movement. Something was changing their course. Finch checked the nav. He froze. Coordinates rerouted. The AI voice droned. New destination Proxima Relay Theta. No, he muttered. That's not even in our mapped navnet. That's uncharted. Lyra stepped beside him. It's calling others. Finch paled. You mean this thing has a network? She nodded grimly. Like veins, like spores. You're not the first human to find it, just the first to survive this long. And then it hit him hard. The lost missions, the abandoned colonies, the ghost signals reported in deep space. Maybe Earth hadn't lost contact by accident. Maybe they were being silenced. One by one. He turned to Lyra. We need to get to the bridge. Override nav. She raised her light. Together, they stepped into the corridor side by side. The ship felt different now. Not colder, not darker, just aware. The walls creaked like lungs. The hum of the engines shifted in tone, becoming a whisper, and Finch felt something pressing against his mind. Images, a burning city, alien voices screaming. A memory not his own. He stumbled. Lyra caught his sleeve. Don't listen. It lies. It shows what it wants. They reached the bridge. Finch keyed in his override code. The system blinked red. Manual lock engaged. The AI said, access denied. He cursed. Tried again. Nothing. Lyra stepped forward, placed her hand on the screen. Her bioluminescence flared brighter than before. Suddenly, the screen responded. Symbols appeared. Alien. Ancient. Finch watched in disbelief. You're interfacing with it, she nodded. My people built these systems long ago, before your kind walked. The screen flickered again. A new symbol appeared. A spiral. Endless. Consuming. Lyra gasped. It's already linked to another vessel. A colony ship. Human. Finch's heart dropped. How far? 3 days from now. If we don't stop this ship, it will pass the infection. Finch didn't ask how she knew. He simply believed her. He always trusted instinct, and something about Lyra felt pure, more real than the whispering voices in his head. He turned toward the emergency systems. We blow the core, he said. Lyra looked up. What? We destroy the ship. Stop the link. Stop it from spreading. You and I, we take the emergency pod, get the message to Earth. She hesitated. It will chase us. He looked at her, determination in his eyes. Then we run. The hidden passenger. 3 days until the colony ship dies. That was the countdown, ticking inside Finch's skull as he and Lyra ran through the curved, dim corridors of the Halcyon sphere. The ship groaned around them, metal joints twisting, like bones under stress. Somewhere in the ventilation above them, something moved, always watching, always shifting. Whatever it was part of the ship now. We need to disable the fusion core, Finch said, breath heavy as they turned into Engineering Hall B. But if we shut it down too early, we'll lose life support before we reach the escape pod. Lyra's glowing fingertips danced across the wall as they moved, her biosignature interacting with the emergency lock panels, bypassing Earth's primitive tech like it was a child's puzzle. It listens through heat, she whispered, but not light. Cold, it can't bear. Fire, it fears. Finch stopped in front of the secured access to the fusion chamber. He paused, eyes scanning the corridor. Tell me something, he said, voice low. When your people first encountered this thing, did it speak? Lyra nodded slowly. It didn't use words at first. Just feelings, regret, despair. Then it learned our thoughts. It used our dead to speak to us. Finch felt his stomach turn. He remembered the voice that had woken him. Earlier that day, a voice that sounded like his father, though his father had been dead for years. Damn things in my head already, he muttered. Then it's testing you, Lyra replied. It hasn't chosen your form yet. My form. To mimic. To spread. Finch froze. Was that what it did? Take over your body. Were your memories like a mask? He glanced up at a nearby security camera. It blinked. Read. Recording. Was it watching him now? Or worse, was he watching himself? The fusion core chamber was deep inside the engineering section, sealed by triple lock security and reinforced glass shielding. Finch overrode the first panel manually. Lyra handled the second, using her glowing touch. The third lock didn't open. Manual override required, the ship's AI said flatly. Please provide biometric confirmation. Finch put his palm against the panel. Authorization. Finch 947. The screen turned blue. Override failed. Biometric mismatch. Finch blinked. What? That's impossible. He tried again. Override failed. Lyra stepped forward. It's already altered your identity. Finch's voice was hollow. You mean, it's erased me from my own ship? No, she said softly. It's becoming you. He slammed a fist against the wall. This isn't happening. Then the lights flickered. A low hum passed through the floor, like a groan, from the belly of something enormous. Finch looked up at the ceiling vent above them. It was open. A smear of dark fluid streaked across the wall just beside it. Faint, pulsing, warm. He raised his plasma torch and backed up. Come out, damn. You. Silence, then a soft sound behind him. Lyra gasped. Finch turned. Standing in the corridor was himself. Same coat, same face, same phrase, same crooked nose, same smirk. Hey there, the copy said, casually. You look terrible. Finch didn't move. Lyra, he whispered. Back away. Slowly. The mimic version of him tilted its head. Always so dramatic, it said. You brought me here, Caleb. You opened the ruin. You touched the core. I'm just what followed. I didn't bring anything, Finch snapped. You latched on like a parasite. The mimic smiled wider. Names don't matter. Call me what you want. The truth is, I'm already inside. You're talking to yourself. Lyra raised her hand, her glow turning into a sharp beam of light. The mimic hissed, its skin pulsed like liquid. You don't belong in this place, she said firmly. You are a remnant. A wound that refuses to close. The mimic stepped forward. Finch didn't wait. He lunged with the plasma torch. Driving it forward, the mimic screamed, not in sound, but in thought. The air rippled with pressure. Lyra staggered. The flame cut through the mimic's chest, exposing a black, writhing mass beneath. No bones, no blood, just living memory. Then it collapsed into a puddle, melting, evaporating, gone. Finch panted, arm shaking. Lyra stepped beside him. Her light faded back to soft blue. That wasn't all of it, she whispered. Just a projection, a failed merge. Finch nodded. I know, and he was right, because a memory surged through his brain then, a false memory. He saw himself sitting in the cockpit, alone, laughing, whistling, but it wasn't real. He had never whistled in space, not once. Back in the lab, Finch and Lyra sealed the door behind them and pulled up a schematic of the ship. Finch pointed to a secondary data relay node located behind the sleep chambers. If we rewire this, he said, we can access the fusion controls. Without the main biometric panel, manual fail-safe, buried system, never connected to nav. Lyra nodded. But it will feel you digging. Finch looked at her. Let it, we don't have time to hide. They gathered tools, cables, a portable fusion key, and a backup power cell. As they moved, Finch caught his reflection in the lab's alloy surface, and for a split second, his reflection smiled. But he hadn't. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath. You still with me? He asked Lyra. She stepped beside him, her glowing hands lighting the path ahead. As long as you stay. The relay access corridor was tight, narrow, more like a crawl space than a hall. Finch slid in first, pulling himself along using the embedded support rails. Lyra followed. Her glow dimmed to avoid alerting the creature. Behind them, the ship creaked again. A distant sound echoed through the hull. A heartbeat. Only the ship didn't have one. Finch reached the access panel and pried it open. Inside were a tangle of old wires, backup switches, and a rusted manual drive. He plugged in the power cell. A red light flicked on. System booting. It said. Suddenly, a scream. Not from Lyra, not from him, but from everywhere. A human scream. A woman's voice. Finch froze. His sister's voice. Caleb, help me. He gritted his teeth. No, no, she died on Titan. The voice came again. Closer, please. They're hurting me. Lyra pressed her hand to his shoulder. It's not her. Finch looked at her. I know, he said, but his voice cracked. The relay finished booting. The override prompt blinked on screen. Fusion core. Failsafe. Engage Y. NFINCH hovered over the controls. Lyra stared at him. We do this. There's no turning back. He nodded. Better that than let it reach the colony ship. He entered the command. The system chimed. Failsafe primed. 60-minute detonation countdown. Initiated. At the same moment, the ship screamed. Not a voice this time. The entire ship. The walls shook. Lights flared red. The AI voice stammered. Alert. Unauthorized system activation. Organic override detected. Internal lockdown initiated. Doors slammed across the ship. Ventilation systems reversed. Something was angry. Finch and Lyra scrambled back through the tunnel, just as fire suppression foam burst behind them. They returned to the main hallway, just in time to see the escape pod. Doors closed. And inside was another Finch. Perfect. Smiling. Going somewhere. The mimic asked. Finch raised the torch. The mimic lifted a hand. Come on. Be smart. You blow this ship. You kill both of us. You lose your ride. You lose everything. Finch clenched his jaw. Wrong. He raised the plasma torch, but Lyra stepped forward. Her glow flared bright, blinding. The mimic screeched. The pod door burst open under her light. Finch lunged, drove the torch into its chest. The mimic melted again, but slower this time, screaming louder, desperate as it dissolved. It whispered, "You are me." Then it was gone. They sealed the pod door. Finch fired the engine sequence. Countdown at 37 minutes. The AI chimed. He looked at Lyra. Ready to run. She nodded. They launched. The pod fired away from the ship. Behind them, the Halcyon spear drifted, spinning gently in space like a dying whale. Finch stared at it through the viewport. That thing, it's not gone, is it? Lyra didn't answer. immediately. Parts of it may remain, but the core was inside you. And you're free now. Finch didn't respond, because part of him wasn't sure, and somewhere in the vast dark he heard a faint whisper, his own voice, saying something he couldn't quite understand. The colony ship T-0 hours 11 minutes and 28 seconds to detonation escape pod trajectory. Stable destination, Human Colony Outpost, New Cascadia, Outer Belt Orbit, Alpha Eridani. System. Finch sat motionless in the escape pod, eyes locked on the shrinking image of the Halcyon spear in the rear viewport. It drifted like a ghost's guard, buckled and eerily still. Somewhere in its core, a silent countdown ticked toward obliteration. Next to him, Lyra sat with her knees hugged to her chest, her silvery skin flushed with faint cyan light, eyes wide but unreadable. 11 minutes left, Finch muttered, checking the small console screen. His throat was dry. He looked at Lyra. You sure the blast won't reach this far? The detonation will fold the vessel inward, she replied softly. It will collapse into itself, like a wound sealing shut. Finch exhaled. Well, let's hope you're right, he said, leaning back into his seat. Because if we miscalculated, we'll be joining that thing for a very up-close funeral. Lyra didn't reply. She was staring at the floor, past it. Finch followed her gaze, then noticed something odd. A faint smear of dark liquid on the escape pod. Floor. Small. Almost unnoticeable. Finch knelt slowly. What the hell? The smear quivered, like it felt him watching. Lyra lunged forward and slammed her hand over it, her glow surging. The smear sizzled, then evaporated into smoke. Finch staggered back. What was that? I thought we left that thing behind. Lyra's voice was tight. A fragment. It must have latched on during the transfer. Finch turned pale. Then, it's not dead. No, she said. But it's disconnected. Weak. For now. Finch stared at the floor long after the smear had gone. The thought it could be inside him, again twisted in his gut like a knife. 20 minutes later. Orbit of New Cascadia Human Colony Outpost. The colony loomed ahead, a massive, ringed structure orbiting a dead moon. Unlike Earth's sleek orbital stations, New Cascadia was practical, grimy, built for survival more than comfort. It looked like someone had strapped a mining rig to a space station and called it a home. As the pod docked, an automated voice chimed, "Welcome to New Cascadia. Please remain still for biometric scanning." Finch glanced at Lyra. "They won't like you being here." She tilted her head. "Then they should have left the stars alone." He smirked, despite the tension. When the door hissed open, a team of 3 armed security officers met them, rifles raised, scanners active. Behind them stood a tall woman in a dark cobalt uniform, Station Commander Dahlia Rourke. Her gaze fell on Finch. "Caleb Finch. You were declared MIA 12 days ago. Care to explain your return in a stolen pod with an alien?" Finch raised his hands. "Long story, ma'am. But if I were you, I'd start preparing the quarantine deck." Commander Rourke narrowed her eyes. "Quarantine." Finch nodded grimly. "Because something followed us." In the med deck, 3 hours later, Lyra sat inside a containment field, calm and unmoving, while Finch underwent a full-body scan. Doctors moved like ghosts in hazmat suits, poking and probing, as the AI system checked for parasitic signatures, neurological interference, and foreign memory implants. The screen showed no anomalies, but Finch wasn't relieved. "Not yet. Anything?" Rourke asked the lead medic. The woman shook her head. "His vitals are clean. No foreign agents. No mimic resonance. No trace of infection." "Then he's clear?" Rourke asked. The medic hesitated. "Technically, yes. But what? We don't know how this entity functions. What if it doesn't infect the body, but the mind?" Finch spoke up. "I already asked myself that question, more than once." Commander Rourke stepped forward. "What exactly did you bring back, Finch?" Finch looked her dead in the eye. "Intelligence, non-biological, a thought from. It mimics sentient life. It learns from emotion, memory, identity. We found it in an alien ruin on a derelict asteroid. It latched onto me. It tried to become me." Rourke's jaw tensed. "And the alien girl. She saved me," Finch said. Lyra didn't speak. Her gaze was fixed on the floor. Commander Rourke crossed her arms. "Let me guess. And now you want me to believe you destroyed this thing." Finch pulled out a data chip. "This has the full log. The AI recordings, the hallucinations, the false memories, everything." Rourke took the chip, but didn't look convinced. Fine, but until I know what I'm dealing with, you're both staying under watch. That night, quarantine observation room, Finch lay on the cot, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. He heard soft humming. It was Lyra, sitting against the wall, behind the transparent quarantine barrier. She was singing something, a soft, broken tune. Is that a lullaby? He asked. She nodded. From my home world. My mother sang it when the dark storms came. Finch turned his head. Is your world still out there? Lyra didn't answer for a long time. No, she whispered. It was devoured by the same thing, long before humans ever found that ruin. Finch sat up. Then, this thing, it's ancient. Older than galaxies, she said. It doesn't live. It remembers. It feeds on what we love, what we fear. Finch swallowed hard. How do we kill something like that? By not giving it what it wants. And what does it want? Lyra's glow pulsed faintly. To be us. The next morning, alarm warning. The station AI blared. Unauthorized access detected. Life support grid breach in Section 3C. Isolation doors locking. Finch jolted awake. On the far side of the room, one of the station crewmen screamed. Then the lights flickered. Outside the window something moved. A dark ripple passed through the corridor, bending the light, distorting it. Lyra leaped up, pressing her hands to the quarantine glass. It's here. Finch pounded on the emergency release. Opened this damn field. Nothing. Commander Rourke's voice crackled over the comms. Finch. Whatever this thing is, it's spreading. People are seeing versions of themselves, hearing voices. Half the deck's already sealed. What the hell did you bring here? Finch grabbed the comm mic. It hitched a ride. I didn't bring it. It followed me. Containment's failing. It's adapting to our systems. It's rewriting ID tags, impersonating crew. We don't know who's real anymore. Finch turned to Lyra. We need to find the source. Is there a core? No core, she replied. But there's a seed, the memory it anchored to. If we destroy that, we cut off its tether. Finch's heart skipped a memory. Mine. Yes, she said. It copied you. There's still a version of you somewhere on this station. Half you, half it. Finch stared at the door. So I have to kill myself. Lower decks, cryo storage. Finch and Lyra moved through the dark, gunmetal halls of the lower decks. The oldest part of New Cascadia. Power flickered. Sparks danced from broken conduits, and every surface felt wrong, warped, like it remembered something that didn't belong. Then they heard it. A voice. Caleb. It was his voice, but older, softer, tired. Why are you running from me? They rounded a corner. There, in the middle of the corridor, stood another Finch, but this one looked real. Same coat, same eyes. He didn't shimmer like the others. He smiled sadly. You can't destroy me, it said. You are me. I'm every lie you told yourself. Every version of you that you pretend never existed. I'm the truth. Finch raised the plasma torch. No, he said. You're the fear. The mimic opened its arms. So burn it away. Finch fired. The mimic screamed, but the scream was his. And as the fire consumed it, it didn't resist. It wept back in the command deck. The lights stabilized. The air cleared. Station AI voice returned. Containment is successful. Threat level terminated. Commander Rourke stood silently as Finch and Lyra emerged from the lift, covered in soot and memory ash. Is it over? She asked. Finch looked at his hands. I think, this time, yes. Rourke nodded slowly, then turned to Lyra. You're not human, but you saved one, and maybe saved the rest of us. You want asylum. Lyra looked at Finch. He nodded once. She turned to Rourke and said quietly, I want to stay. Later that week, Finch stood alone in the observation bay staring at the stars. Lyra joined him, her glow soft and calm. You okay? She asked. Finch smiled faintly. Not sure, but I'm me. She reached out and took his hand. Then we won. The truth beneath. 10 days after the incident, New Cascadia. Station outer belt orbit. They thought it was over. The entity had been purged. The mimic of Finch destroyed. The AI declared containment a success. But something beneath New Cascadia had just begun to stir. Finch stared into his reflection on the black glass of the observation deck. Behind him, engineers repaired conduits and reinforced bulkheads, scars left behind from the encounter. No one really wanted to talk about. He hadn't slept much, not because he was afraid the mimic would return, but because he dreamed like it still existed. Lyra approached quietly. Her bare feet made no sound on the metal floor. You saw it again, she said. Finch didn't answer right away. Then, every time I close my eyes, I see the version of me that didn't fight back, the one who let it in, the one who liked what it became. Lyra stood beside him. Her glow was dim, not from exhaustion, but from caution. The mimic may be gone, but something older remains. Finch turned sharply. You felt it too. She nodded. It was never just one entity that ruined on the asteroid. It was a fracture, a broken tooth of something much larger, something still asleep. Finch swallowed, and were sitting on top of its grave. Subsurface level 1-3. Restricted Zone Station. Commander Rourke unlocked the old elevator doors herself. The core decks hadn't been touched in years, not since New Cascadia was first constructed by the Terraforming Corp 3 decades ago. This section was sealed after the foundation was stabilized, she explained. Radiation spikes, unexplained failures, weird sensor echoes, nothing conclusive, just wrong. Finch glanced at Lyra, who had gone stiff the moment they entered. Lyra. Her eyes were distant. Then she whispered, "It's not dead." Rourke looked at her. "Excuse me. Something buried itself here, deep, before your people ever arrived." Finch gripped the rail as the elevator descended. "So when I destroyed the mimic, I didn't end it. I woke it. The chamber, it wasn't part of the original station. That much was obvious." The lower deck walls gave way to a dome of obsidian black stone. No seams, no welds, no signs of human construction. Just cold, curved geometry that made the eye ache if you stared too long. It hummed with a faint vibration, just enough to rattle your teeth if you stood still. In the center of the room sat a pillar, covered in alien glyphs, and at the base of it, A-shape.human-shape. Burned into the stone, like someone had melted into it. Finch stepped forward. It was him, or rather, a perfect impression of his body, like a cast made in fire and pressure. He staggered back. "What the hell is this?" Lyra didn't speak. She knelt down, placed a hand near the edge of the shape, and closed her eyes. For a moment, nothing. Then the lights overhead exploded. The glyphs flared, and the room whispered in 1,000 voices. "We remember." Finch covered his ears. "Make it stop." Lyra stood, her glow flickering wildly. "It knows you. It remembers the mimic version of you, and now it's using that pattern to grow." Commander Rourke drew her sidearm, eyes wild. "This is a goddamn infection. We should seal this whole deck and burn it." Lyra turned to her sharply. "You can't burn this. It's not just a physical presence, it's cognitive. It's a virus of thought. And now that it has a shape," Finch finished her sentence, ... "it can spread." Back in the command deck, emergency meetings were called. AI records were pulled. Every scrap of data from the mimic incident reviewed. Again, patterns emerged. The hallucinations hadn't stopped for some of the crew, but they weren't just memories, they were suggestions, whispers, dreams of possibility, future events that hadn't yet occurred. And every one of them centered around Finch. He was the template. He was the entry point. Later that night, Medical Wing Dr. Grayson, a senior xenologist on the station, ran a neural resonance scan on Finch's brain. The results came back. Strange. Brain activity normal. But to normal, perfect rhythm, ideal patterns. Grayson frowned. "People don't think in perfect waves," she said. Finch blinked. "What are you saying?" She hesitated. "Either your brain is healing abnormally fast, or something else is regulating your neural activity." He stared at the screen. Then suddenly, it shifted. Just for a second. His reflection on the monitor turned and winked at him. The hidden archives. Deck 9. Lyra broke protocol. She entered the off-limits data vault without clearance. What she found chilled her more than the cold could. New Cascadia hadn't accidentally built over the ancient structure. They were looking for it. The Terraforming Corp had received strange signal bursts from the asteroid belt 40 years ago. Bursts they later traced to a deep-wave entity beyond the galactic veil. The same kind of pattern Finch had encountered. Buried in a hidden log was a single line. Operation Seed Mirror. Use artificial memories to trigger cognitive resonance with the buried intelligence. Lyra staggered back. "This wasn't an accident," she whispered. "They used him. He was meant to awaken it." Meanwhile, Finch's quarters. Finch stared at his own hands. They were flickering, not visibly, but he felt it, like his skin didn't quite match the shape underneath. He walked to the mirror, and the man inside the reflection smiled first, Not him it. We're almost there, the voice said. One more memory, one more truth. He stepped back. No, you're gone. I burned you. The reflection tilted its head. You burned a version, but I was seated deeper than you ever realized. I didn't follow you from the asteroid. You carried me. The final discovery core of the Pillar Commander Rourke authorized a team to drill into the alien pillar, hoping to destroy it from within. But what they found wasn't metal or stone. It was a library. Encoded within the pillar were millions of consciousnesses, fragments of lives, thoughts, languages, entire cultures folded into nonlinear memory arrays. At the center, a single data structure labeled by the AI as the template. It was Finch's DNA, cloned, amplified, integrated into the alien network. Lyra put it all together. The mimic didn't just copy you. It was reborn from you. The alien ruin used you as a key to unlock itself. And now, it's becoming something else. Finch whispered, becoming me. The uplink event, crisis breakout without warning. Every screen on the station blinked black dot, then showed Finch's face. Not live video but a version dot. An ideal version dot, no scars, no flaws, smiling warmly dot, and speaking in his voice. You brought me home. Let me show you what we can become. Lyra gasped, shut it down. Rourke barked, but nothing responded. Finch turned, staring at the screen. I didn't authorize this. Then, his own voice whispered behind him. But you wanted it. You dreamed of being more, stronger, immortal. Remember. Lyra pulled him away. Don't listen. It's using your hopes against you. Cliffhanger ending scene, Airlock Base 6. The decision came fast. They had to eject the entire pillar structure into deep space and overload the station's reactor to sever its link, or risk full mental collapse across the entire crew. Finch volunteered. I started this, I end it. Lyra shook her head. You won't come back. He smiled faintly. Then at least it ends with the real me. As the airlock doors opened and the structure detached, Finch stood at the edge. The voice came again. Don't throw yourself away. You don't know who else is inside me. What we could discover. Finch looked at Lyra one last time. I already discovered what matters. He hit the release. The pillar vanished into the void. But just before it passed out of range, every station screen blinked one last time. This is not the end. The final echo 3 days after ejection. New Cascadia Station silent orbit. The station floated, powered down to emergency levels. Communications were jammed, internal systems flickered, and most of the crew was quarantined due to increasing neurological instability. But Finch was gone. He had ejected himself, along with the alien pillar, into deep space, a sacrifice to end the mimic threat, once and for all, or so they believed. Lyra stood at the edge of the sealed observation dome, wrapped in a thermal blanket, staring into the stars. Sleep hadn't come, not since he left, not since the final transmission blinked onto the screen. His face, not his voice. She could still hear the last words. This is not the end. She hadn't told anyone what she saw in the last seconds, not even Rourke, because if she was wrong, it was just a trauma response. But if she was right, Finch wasn't dead. He was evolving. The deep signal. Hours later, a low-frequency burst struck. The outer sensors. No origin, no coordinates. Just a pulse. Dash. Translation. Finch Spark 3 Backgate Grass-like glass god rides alone. Nonlinear, fragmented. But 3 words stood out. Finch, Backgate. Lyra turned to the station. AI, show me the drift path of the ejected object. A pause. Then the hologram lit up. The pillar hadn't drifted away. It had adjusted course toward a dark region of space, unlisted in any chart, a place only referenced in deep myth archives. The Backgate, buried archives level 9. Lyra retrieved the restricted archives again. The term Backgate appeared only once, a myth from a pre-collapse alien race, possibly the ones who built the archive pillar. They believed in a dimensional mirror, a place where consciousness could pass between realities, like stepping through reflections. The idea was dismissed as pseudoscience. But now, Finch had gone silent, and the gate was real. She made her choice. Launch Sequence. Commander Rourke stood in front of the launch bay, arms folded. You're chasing ghosts. Lyra, wearing a reinforced exploration suit and carrying only a translation matrix, replied softly. No, I'm answering a signal. Rourke hesitated, then handed her a small data crystal. If he's alive, bring him home. The shuttle bay opened, and the small vessel detached from New Cascadia like a leaf falling from a dying tree. edge of the Black Lyra's vessel approached the gate's coordinates, but there was no visible structure, just stars, then less, then stars. Like space was folding in on itself. Then the AI spoke. Temporal variance detected. Visual input unreliable. Conscious navigation required. She closed her eyes, and reached inward. Show me where he is. The gate opens, reality bent. Colors inverted. The stars stretched and snapped. And suddenly, she stood not in her ship, but on a mirrored plane, above stars, below stars, and in the center, a tower of shifting light. Finch stood at the base, but he wasn't just Finch anymore. He was other. His skin shimmered with translucent echoes. His eyes reflected universes. But he smiled like himself. I knew you'd come, he said. Revelation. What the archive really was. Lyra approached slowly. Where are we? He looked up at the tower. This is the root layer, the base of the archive, the true origin of the mimic. But I destroyed it. You destroyed a seed. The pillar was a fragment, a probe. This is where it grew from. Lyra blinked. So it's still alive. Finch looked at her. It's not about life. It's about memory. Echoes. It doesn't live. It remembers. She looked around. This whole place, it's built from minds. Yes. Millions of species. Their thoughts, their fears, their versions of themselves, all kept here. Waiting for someone to reshape it. Lyra stepped back. And you're reshaping it. He nodded. It offered me a choice. To be devoured, or to lead. To rewrite what it becomes. The choice. Lyra's voice cracked. So, what are you now? Are you still you? Finch took her hand. It was warm. I'm still me, but more. I remember every second in that mimic body. I remember the fear, the temptation, but I also remember what stopped me. He looked at her. You did. She closed her eyes. Then asked, why call me here? Because the archive is waking. Others will find it, and they'll need a version of truth. She frowned. What do you mean? Finch looked up. This place doesn't share data like files. It shares people, their feelings, their histories. It lets others experience their journey. And then he said it. I want you to be the first guardian. What it means, Finch explained, that guardians of the archive don't rule, they guide. They remember. So others don't forget. Each guardian leaves behind their story, a living imprint others can walk through. It's how peace was once made, by sharing lives instead of weapons. Lyra shook her head. But I'm no hero. He smiled. Exactly. That's why they'll believe you. Goodbye. The tower pulsed. Finch's form shimmered. It's time, he said. I can't return. My mind is too deeply woven into this place now. I'd fracture outside it. Lyra touched his face. So this is goodbye. He touched her forehead gently. Not goodbye. Just a version of farewell. The stars rippled. The archive began to shift. And Finch's body dissolved into glowing threads, each one spiraling into the tower. His voice whispered, tell them, I made peace with myself. Return to New Cascadia. Lyra awoke in the pilot's chair of her shuttle. No time had passed, no data had been recorded, but in her hand was a single shard of crystal, glowing faintly with the symbol of the tower. She looked toward the silent stars, then set course for home. Epilogue. Earth. 3 years later, the New Cascadia incident was never explained to the public. Official reports marked Finch as Kia, but whispers grew of a new kind of deep space interface, one that helped ships avoid conflict, or triggered peace protocols during alien contact. And always, the guidance came from someone named Finch. Lyra, now leading a quiet research life on Lunatic, sometimes held the crystal up to the light, and on rare nights, she saw his smile reflected back. Final lesson. Sometimes, the thing we fear the most is the version of ourselves we haven't become yet. End of story.